Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a little review video for you. I recently purchased this Tim Holtz precision trimmer from Tonic. This is the box that it comes in. This is a 12.5-inch trimmer that has a slide instead of being like the last one I think he released was the rotary trimmer. I don't actually have that one. I'm not a super huge fan of rotary trimmers. I do have one, but I have a Fisker's version. But anyway, I have a lot of trimmers and I've used a lot over the years as I started out in card making and scrapbooking and all those kinds of things. So I have a lot of trimmers, and there's always a love-hate relationship with different kinds of trimmers. But I did want to just kind of come on here and review this one because it is pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited about it. There are a couple things to it that are a little bit different, but I think it's great. So it comes in this, in its package. It has 2 cutting blades that it comes with, so you'll have a replacement blade, and then this gray one is a scoring blade. Now, personally, I don't use my trimmers like this a lot for scoring. I have a scoreboard and I just tend to use that more often, but you can see like this blade, you can run your finger over it. It's not going to hurt you because it's just basically a little nub. And it doesn't do a super deep blade like score on it, which is actually a good thing if you're trying to score more fragile papers or thinner papers versus like cardstocks or even some of your really thin scrapbook papers and those kinds of things. Sometimes they can tear really easily if you're trying to score them. So it does have a more shallow score on it. In his video where he's introducing this trimmer, he does talk about a way to kind of go in there and kind of adjust this a little bit so that you have a deeper score. But again, personally, I'm not going to do that just because I don't typically use this as a scoring tool. It's not really designed to even, like, I might use it more if it were designed to kind of stay in the carriage. But in order to get a full cut, you can't have anything in here. So you can't have the 2 blades in the carriage at the same time. So to me, I just don't want to have to fiddle with, like, if I'm going to have to fiddle with something and pulling one in and putting one out and do whatever, I'm just going to pull out my scoreboard. That's just me. I'm sure other people are super excited about it, but again, that's just how I feel about it. So it does come with 1 replacement blade. We'll see how long it takes before I have to replace it. But one of the things that you can see on the blade themselves are these little arrows here on the top and the bottom, but also it has them on the sides. Maybe it would be easier to show you here. And that is really so that you can very precisely cut where you want to. So if you're trying to cut something out of the middle of a page, like you're trying to cut out a window or you want to make a frame or something like that, all you have to do is line up these arrows and you'll know exactly when to start or stop cutting because that's the exact spot where the trimmer blade is. So, but one of the coolest features of this trimmer to me personally, because it's something that irritates me with regular trimmers or with the regular types of trimmers that are like this, is that it has this spring right here. And so it allows you to kind of slide your paper underneath. And so as you're going along, you can keep trimming and you don't have, I'll just show you, you can kind of, you just keep trimming and you can just keep sliding it along. You don't have to lift and then, move. And to me, it's like, it's a silly problem, but it is kind of annoying. Or you have that little strip of paper and you have to lift it up to kind of get it out of the way or that kind of stuff. It doesn't have that problem because it's just elevated a little bit from that spring, which is really awesome. But it does take a little bit of getting used to because you can't just drop it down and cut. You really do have to make sure that you have, pushed this down before you start cutting, because you don't want to try to cut when it's up like this. You're not going to get a good cut. The blade is going to go into the edge. You want to make sure that it's really fully down. To that end, I really wish it was more like this, where it had a little ledge on there to work with. Kind of like this is the decal edge trimmer, which I love, but I love that you have this to kind of hold everything in place. I kind of wish this had something similar. That's just personal preference, I guess, but it does have both metric and imperial measurements And the one thing too is it does have little slide arms that come out, so you can measure all the way up to 12 inches. And then of course you have a 1/2 inch on this side. So but it also does it so that there's, I'm trying to get it down here. This is actually the bottom. So you've got it on the bottom as well. And he explains kind of in his video that depending on, you know, if you like to put your paper up at the top and cut from the top down, or, you know, at the bottom, everybody kind of has their own way that they kind of use their trimmers. So you have measurements on either side to be able to do that, and they just tuck away in there. It's a super lightweight trimmer. The only other thing that I kind of wish that it had the ability to do, which I understand why it doesn't, but it would have been nice, is it doesn't have a way to keep this down. So my other trimmer that I have, which is a Fiskars one, it has a lock up here at the top that locks this part in place. So when I'm storing it, I don't have to worry about it kind of flopping open, because I can just slide it, and it's not, this part is not going to move anywhere. The blade still slides, but this, the arm part does not. And it also has that, that same kind of place where you can hold it. And so I've just gotten used to using that. It'll have to just be like, you know, you just have to get used to the new trimmer. But, so this is one of the things, like on this particular trimmer, there is a wire, like a metal wire that runs down here, and that kind of indicates where your blade is going to cut, so you can get a pretty precise cut with that. My issue is I always seem to get trimmers that don't cut perfectly straight, and I don't know why that is. Maybe that's a user error. I have not yet noticed it though with Tim's trimmer, so I don't know if it's just this particular one, because there's a little bit more space kind of in the carriage area right here for the blade. There's a little bit more wiggle room for the blade to kind of slide back and forth. And I mean, we're talking, you know, minuscule measurements here, but this one, it doesn't have that big of a, you can see where the, like the little gutter for the blade is. It's not that wide. So like my other one, for example, I will show you this, like this one, you can actually, if you wanted to, you could put a piece of paper in here. And I've done this before when I didn't want to have to get out my square blade, is I've just put a piece of paper down and run like a bone folder or something along there. And I can actually score something, because this area feels like it's a little bit wider than this. So the only thing with that being said is you have to be very careful not to shift the blade here when you're trying to cut. You want to make sure like that this is down, and you want to pull straight down instead of kind of like angled one way or the other, because I think it will kind of create gouges in the side. I do have one which is like right here, but I think that I did that. So anyway, overall, like I said, it's not one that where I would necessarily be able to kind of store it without having to worry about this part flying open. But it's in the overall grand scheme of things, it's fine. And I do love the fact that this is open, so you're not having to, you know, do this 1,000,005 times if you're trying to cut something. Even guillotine cutters, which I use, this is another one that I will use kind of a lot. You're still having to, you know, you can raise the arm, and you can get some of it pretty precise with this kind of trimmer, which is one of the reasons why I tend to use it a lot. But you can't do the same thing like if you're wanting to cut out the center of something, obviously, because you're going to get a full swipe. So personally, it's one of those things that's like adhesives or anything else to me. There are different tools for different jobs. And so to me, sometimes having those extra, I know that, did I necessarily need this trimmer? Probably not. But I did want to try it. I do feel like it cuts a little bit straighter than the one that I have. But I do tend to use trimmers interchangeably. So depending on what I'm using, I may use the guillotine cutter, or I will use a trimmer. Rarely do I actually use my rotary trimmer. I do have one. Rotary trimmers, they're just not my favorite for whatever reason, but I know other people really, really love them. So, you know, that's all it's again, all just personal preference, but especially for the price point, which is the reason why I didn't try his rotary trimmer. When I saw the demonstration for that one, it was just too much for me. And then the price point was a little bit expensive for a trimmer that I know is not my favorite type of trimmer, I guess. But this trimmer is definitely a trimmer that I tend to use a lot. And I felt like it was a really good price point personally. So anyway, it is a great trimmer, like all Tim Holtz tools, because they come from the mind of a maker. I think that they just work really well. And of course you have the grid in here, and I don't know if you can really tell, but even within the grid, there are your kind of common measurements, like 4x6 and 5x7. They're all kind of marked out in there, just to help you if you're like a card maker and you're trying to make a bunch of card bases or whatever. You can really do that because they're, and make sure that you're lined up where you need to be. So personally, I think that's great. But this feature to me is my favorite feature, because it does get a little bit tiring, like with this one, when you're trying to, do something and then you have to just all the time you're doing this, which it gets annoying after a while, especially like I said, if you're trimming something. Where'd my piece of paper go? So like here, if you're trimming this and then you want to get that little slice out of there, you have to lift it, and and I know that it seems like, but if you're doing a lot of kind of things over and over and over again, some of those little tiny extra steps they get annoying after a while. And this, to me, does get a little annoying. So it was funny that that's one of the things that he mentioned about why he doesn't like those kinds of trimmers. And so the guys that he worked with, they figured out a way to solve that problem just with this little spring in there. So I'm actually really excited about this trimmer. I don't know if you have seen this trimmer before or if you've already purchased one. You can let me know what you think about it down in the comments. I really do like it. I will be reaching for it a lot. You'll probably see it in a lot of my videos. It is kind of big. So like I said, you can't see it on screen because it's pretty tall. Like it does take up a pretty good footprint on my desk, but I do love it. I love the big carriage blade in there as well. I also really, really love that it came with a replacement blade. And then of course the scoring tool, like I said, if you're someone that wants kind of an all-in-one thing, it would be a way, especially if you were traveling with it or whatever, that you could take it and have the scoring tool with you as well, and then not have to take a scoreboard or whatever. The only thing I will say about the blades, let me just say this, is they didn't come with any kind of cover. And I don't know, like my Fiskars one, let me see, I can show you. So this is a replacement blade. It just comes with a little piece of plastic over the top just to kind of protect it. Neither of these blades have that on there, which I feel like I would have appreciated, just because I'm gonna have to be storing this and I don't want it to get messed up. But it's a minor thing, like I said, and not like a huge deal breaker, just something to note. I do have a little drawer where I store all my spare parts, so it should be safe in there. But anyway, that is basically the little trimmer. So I am really excited about it. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, if you plan on getting one, or like I said, if you already have one, and let me know how you're enjoying it, or if there are things about it, features that you particularly like or whatever. Also, let me know if you would like to see another video or more kind of videos like this about my kind of favorite things and why I use them or why I enjoy them. If I'm happy to do that. I'm in the middle of kind of trying to do 30 videos in 30 days situation. So pop your ideas down in the comments. That'd be great. If you like this one, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.